I think it's more about Chelsea in this game. West Ham, I feel like their attitude is they're going to go out and win it, but I feel like they'll be lucky to come away with a point against Chelsea here. I think this. Hopefully, at some point, this is there's a match where Chelsea's able to turn it around and start winning games, just given the amount of investment they've had. West Ham on the other side, they're just barely floating in the water here. It's a little bit tough in some of these closer games, but I think Chelsea overall just have a lot better team. West Ham have not done anything necessarily to impress. They have won a cup. They advanced in the FA Cup. They did beat Everton a couple weeks ago, and then prior to that, lost one at Wolverhampton, and then beat Brentford prior to that. So it's like, they've got a couple decent results. They did come away with a point last week against Newcastle, which is a big point for them, and a big result against a team who's playing pretty well. But yeah, against Chelsea, I think it's tough for me. I'm not necessarily picking either team here, but I think last week I did hit my bet on that Newcastle West Ham game. I went on yes on both teams to score. I'm going to go the opposite direction this week. I think Chelsea, of the two teams, to score in this instance, even though there haven't been a lot of goals in their game. I just think that at some point they're going to put it together, start to score goals here. Although on the other hand, I think West Ham, the team that's less likely to score, so I'm going to go no on both teams to score at -110. I don't feel great about it. I'm just going to put that out there, but I think
you can't say that. It's your bet. You feel great about it.
I feel okay about it. I'm just going to, on a scale of like 1 to 10, when you're like, oh yeah, 10 out of 10, this bet's going to hit. I'm sitting at like a 6. No, that's just putting my confidence out there. I looked at this game, looked at a lot of things, looked at the over/under. Neither will not. You don't get good numbers there necessarily. And then, West Ham, big underdogs, and you're not getting a good double chance bet. You're not getting, some of the other ones that I would usually look at, but I think the one, you come to you're looking for a good number here, and the -110 is really what I came up with on both teams to score. Neither of them great from an attacking perspective, and the under, I think you got to go. The under is under 2.5 is not quite close enough for us to hit at -150.
Yeah, I think the numbers have actually gone in the under's favor as well. And I actually had the same bet as Chris. So that is, I changed mine, but I think we're just kind of on the same page with this one. We'll see kind of how it goes. I just think it just seems like a defensive match. It seems like with Graham Potter here at Chelsea, I don't know if I mentioned this last week. I mentioned it at some point, just how his Brighton teams were always, pretty solid defensively, and they just struggled to score for good portions of the season. And that's kind of what happened against Fulham. They struggled to score. Their defense was pretty solid. And I think that's just kind of how they're going to be. It's going to be, hit or miss in terms of scoring. Maybe Felix gives them a little something. When he did play before that red card, he looked solid. I believe it was at Fulham a few weeks ago with that red card. So maybe he gives them another spark. But West Ham have been kind of bad this season. I was looking at under 4.5 corners in the first half. That was -135. Deciding on Chelsea, race to 5 corners, -110. I think the main question with this one is that will either of these teams get to 5 corners? I'm hoping Chelsea do. I just think that they're gonna have possession more. They're gonna be attacking more. The hope is that they don't score early, because when Chelsea, if they're continually pushing for that goal, for the win, then that's when the corners come from. So if Chelsea don't score in like the first 30 minutes or something, I think we're going to hit on this. But how do you feel about corners and wagers with this one?
Yeah, you said it. The getting to 5 total corners for one team is going to be the tough part. I do think Chelsea go out and have more corners than West Ham, just given how we'll probably expect them to have most of the possession, most of the attacking chances. David Moyes will set up West Ham in a counter-attacking strategy, I guess. And so, yeah, I'd be surprised to see West Ham have any more. But I think, as long as we get to the 5 individual corners from Chelsea, then you're good to go. But yeah,
All
interesting.
right, next game.
Oh, before we move on, Adam, I mean, I was looking at both teams to score. Yes is -115. No is -110. Hence why I took the no. But like, do you think both teams are able to? Do you think we're going to see goals in this one, or is it going to be like a 1-0, 2-0, 0-0 affair?
I think 1-1 is in play. I don't see West Ham getting to 2 goals. And 2-1 for Chelsea kind of seems like a stretch too.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the under 2.5, but again, that's -150. So I think like a 1-1, 1-0 scoreless. I think that's kind of what we're looking at. I just don't think there's going to be great chances for either side, really.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, looking back at last 5 matches for each team, it's I guess 8 of the 10 matches have ended up in a goal to 0 for one of the teams. So it's kind of on a cumulative effect. So yeah, no, it's neither team.
I guess
from an attacking perspective.
One thing I'll say about West Ham that I forgot to mention. So they've gone to like 3 center backs recently. Moyes is trying to change things up to get them out of relegation. And that's led to Emerson Palmieri, formerly at Chelsea. Emerson starting on the wing over Cresswell. And I mean, it's only been 3 matches, so it's hard to take away, a ton from those. Like they beat Everton 2-0, and Everton had a lot of chances in that game. They beat Derby County 2-0, and then it was a Newcastle match 1-1 last week. So there hasn't been a ton with how they're currently rolling out there, but I do think it seems like they're maybe better defensively with this formation. So that's at least something. And I guess we have the revenge narrative here for Emerson, because I don't think he's actually on loan. No, he signed a 4-year contract in August with West Ham from Chelsea. So we got the revenge narrative here for Emerson, if that's what you're playing with as well.
Interesting.
Next game we are talking about is West Ham battling relegation. We have Southampton and Wolverhampton battling relegation. And looking at the odds have not gone in Southampton's favor. So January 22nd, they're plus 160 to win. Currently plus 200 to win. And then Wolverhampton away from home, plus 155 to win. The draw is plus 220. And then over 2.5 goals is plus 130. Under 2.5 goals, minus 160. We're talking before the show. It's like we got Wolverhampton are maybe the worst away team in the league. Southampton maybe the worst home team in the league. They are sitting in last place. So we just got two teams, but they both have new managers. So they're working in new managers. How do you see this game going here with Wolverhampton coming off their pretty big win against Liverpool last weekend?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like looking at these two teams, Southampton is the worst home team in the Premier League. Wolverhampton, the worst away team. So right there, you're like, okay, well, that doesn't give me a lot to work with. Looking at that as well, I think if you look at the goals conceded to, or the goals that they've scored, Wolverhampton have scored 9 goals in 11 matches at home. So goals there. And then when you look at away teams, Southampton haven't scored a ton of goals either going away. So I think overall, I looked for the under bet right off the rip, and there was nothing. The numbers you couldn't under 2.5 as minus 160, so that kind of throws it out the window for me. If you're looking for like a 2-0 or a 0-0 or a 1-1 or 1-0, like something like that, you can't really. That number's not good enough for us to necessarily bet. So then you go to your next option, which for me, I'm going to go back to back on the both on both teams to score here, which in this game is what is it, minus 110, I think again. So I mean that's the route I went, but yeah, tough here because both teams struggle at home, or both teams are struggling in, Southampton at home and Wolverhampton at home, or Wolverhampton away, Southampton home. So it's like there's just not a lot to go with. You did mention both with new managers. I think Southampton invested a fair bit of money during the window, so there's a fair bit of change for them. But yeah, this is one of the tougher games that we looked at, and I'm like, okay, well, all right, I have to make a bet on this one. So I'm gonna go back to the well here. On it's like we have corners and wagers, and now we have no on both teams to scores and wagers.
Well, I have the opposite bet here, but I want to read a quote. I want to read a quote here from Nathan Jones, Southampton manager. This is after last week's loss against Nottingham Forest. Is that correct? He said, "I've compromised my goals because of personnel and the way people want to play, because of fans and so on, but no more." So I don't know what that means, but
That's
they
such a good
added
quote.
a bunch of they added a bunch of guys in the transfer window. I believe he just had his press conference this kind of saying that some of those new guys were in the passport office more than the training room, kind of with leading to last week's match is why some of them didn't start. So we could see something, I don't know, wild, if that's the right term here, but a little different for Southampton based off those quotes. Like we could see Sulemana, we could see Onuachu. I don't know, maybe Shea Adams might not even start. I'm not sure. Kyle Walker-Peters is back from injury as well, so we could again see Perrault on the left side there. So you got those questions. And with Wolverhampton, I do just want to point out, like under Lopetegui, this is not what has been the Wolverhampton team of recent years, at least from what I can tell. They're attacking a little more. They're putting the pressure on opponents a little more than we've seen, like under Espirito Santo and prior managers. They're just a little more attacking. So I'm kind of playing off that with this bet, and I'm going the opposite of Chris. I have yes on both teams to score at -115. His bet is -110. So about even there. Of course, the sportsbook has to steal some money off of us, but I just think this is a match where Southampton are home against, a team in the bottom. Based off the comments of Nathan Jones, they're going to want to kind of come out and attack. And I think both back lines are open to an allowing a goal. But I'm just looking at results here under Lopetegui after the World Cup break. They got 2 goals away from home at Everton. They got 1 at Aston Villa. They got 2 goals at Liverpool in the FA Cup. Another one, they beat West Ham, and then they just beat Liverpool. And one of the recent away ones, 3-0 against Manchester City. You can't really put too much into that. So I just think that this isn't the same Wolves team that we've seen in recent years. Plug that in with Nathan Jones kind of, I don't know, a little pissed off and wanting to see something out of his team. And maybe that's going to lead to goals. We'll see. So that's kind of what I'm going off of. So yes, on both teams to score -115. Do you still feel comfortable with your bet?
Yeah, this one's a 7 out of 10.
Oh, for you.
Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned the recent results, but I mean, it was 3-0 over Liverpool. They lost 3-0 to Wolverhampton or to Manchester City, 1-0 against Liverpool again in the FA Cup, 1-0 against West Ham. And then, you go over to Southampton, and they've been involved in a lot of goals to nil games too. So, I mean, we're on opposite ends of the spectrum here, but I just like neither team. Wolves playing potentially a bit more defensive style, and typical to what they have done in years past. And Southampton not great putting the ball in the back of the net. So it's like this could easily be a 0-0. And I think to your credit here too, it could also be like a 2-2. But I just lean a little bit more where like neither team can score away. At home or away from home. So that's why I feel a bit more strongly on the no on both teams to score.
Yours is just a bet on both these teams suck, so they're not
Exactly.
going to score. It's kind of what
Precisely. This feels like a relegation battle. Both teams are like, okay, yeah, we would love to get 3 points. It'd be a huge 3 points for my team, but it's going to end up as a draw. and they both suck. So,
I agree. You could bet draw in this. It's plus
Yeah,
220. I mean, draw isn't the
I
worst
agree.
thing. I know
If I had to give a secondary bet, I was like, when you like look for bets and you're kind of surveying the landscape of bets, and if nothing's making sense, it's like, why don't I just like pop on over to a draw and take the plus 200 odds?
Yeah, we don't do that too often on this
We
show,
don't.
but
I don't think we've
maybe.
ever bet a draw on this show, but
Yeah, this conversation was kind of bringing up that like we talked about recent Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth matches, and it was like both teams suck, so one of them's not going to score. But those matches actually had goals, but more importantly, both those matches actually I think ended in draws. Actually, I take that back. I think the second one or the first one was 3-2, but I think the most recent one was 1-1. But either way, kind of the same situation, but just teams battling near the bottom of the table.
yeah.
So we're skipping.
To be honest, this is one of the games I maybe might not watch.
Maybe. I
I'll
think
just
there's 5 or 6 games Saturday morning.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had to pick between the 6 games on Saturday morning, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, which one do I want to watch? Maybe this isn't the one that I'm locked in on.
Yeah, it's going to depend on how my DFS squad looks like, I'd say, for me personally. But
Yeah, totally fair. I don't think I have any like season-long fantasy assets in this game, so or nothing I'm like super worried about. But yeah, you got a bunch of other games at the same time. I mean, Arsenal Brentford should be a good one, and then Leicester Tottenham ought to be some goals in that. So it's like I might just
yeah,
watch those.
yeah. All right, so we're skipping Sunday in terms of a specific game, but that's going to be in our team parlay. So yeah, gotta stay for our team parlay, obviously.
Of
But we
course.
got the Merseyside derby, and the odds in this one have just have flipped. Maybe not flipped, but they've changed a bit because of Liverpool's struggles, because of the one match under Sean Dyche. The odds here, look at this. January 22nd, Liverpool were minus 370 to win at home. And at the time, Everton were plus 800 to win. Currently, we're getting Liverpool minus 195 to win, Everton plus 500 to win. Draw is plus 330. So those odds have kind of almost been split in half based off
Yeah.
of what's happened in the last 2 weeks, what's happened in the last week. You can get over 2.5 goals at minus 130, under 2.5 goals at plus 100. So you got the kid on. This is your team. But how much faith do you have in Liverpool right now?
That was a big time butt. That's how I feel. Yeah. So here I am. If you're watching on Kits and Wagers on YouTube, I got the Liverpool kit on. Picked this sucker up at Anfield this fall when I was there. This is the first time really that I'm wearing it, so I'm hoping to put some good juju on it. But the confidence is low, Adam. I was just reading some articles this past week, and it's like, oh, who does Liverpool keep in this rebuild? Is Jurgen Klopp going to stick around after the summer? Like all this all this like stuff that is just it's breaking my heart right now. But and luckily over the past month when they've lost 3-0, they've lost 3-1. Some big games. They can't defend. They can't hold the midfield. They can't score. They're not finishing chances. Meanwhile, Everton, it was all doom and gloom for them a week ago, and I think I heard this on I forget what podcast it was. Maybe it was like the two Robbies NBC's podcast about the Premier League. It's like a week can change so much in the Premier League. So and like look no further than Everton. A week ago they were like we're basically looking at relegation here. I guess Sean Dyche came in, was that 2 weeks ago, a week ago? And then they get Sean Dyche. He comes in. They go and they beat Arsenal at home last weekend, 1-0. Goodison Park, absolutely rocking. And they go into the Merseyside derby with like they probably have a little bit more confidence in their side than Liverpool does at this point. Or not a little bit. They do probably have that confidence. So I hate that I got to do this. This one is tough, but I've been betting against Liverpool the past like 3 weeks, I want to say. Each time the bet's been doing pretty solid. So I'm going double chance on this one, Everton. Liverpool, they just lost 3-0 to Wolverhampton. They lost some games prior to that. This game is always a little bit tricky. Wouldn't be surprised to maybe see a red card for either team, but it's tough for me to look at Liverpool and be like, yeah, let's take them in any sort of fashion that has them winning. So you give Everton double chance at plus 145. I'm saying that in my own Liverpool jersey, so just know that it pains me to say that. But yeah, I think I like Everton at least getting away with a point at Anfield here.
Man, jeez.
Yeah, we're down bad. We're down bad.
All right, so I don't know. So the past week, I don't know if I've ever seen so much content coming out about like Sean Dyche's tactics and how he plays. It's like this guy was at Burnley for 10 years, and everyone always made fun of him for the way he played because he simply, he's at Burnley. They didn't buy players for him. He was just like as a bottom level talent team, and he just finds a way to stay promoted pretty much every year. It was never like oh yeah, these are exciting tactics. This is he's like a genius manager kind of thing. It was never like that. But after the Arsenal win, Sean Dyche, genius. Only good things from here on out from him. That's kind of what it was. And it's like what what even happened the past 10 years? Like we saw Sean Dyche in the Premier League with Burnley. So I guess my first question here for you, like what do you think the talent level difference is for this Everton team from like those Burnley teams? So I mean, we have like the Tarkowskis and the McNeils. So we have that. So like we can compare like, I don't know, Ashley Westwood and Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood to guys like Idrissa Gueye, Iwobi, that kind of a thing. And I mean, Burnley never had like great full backs, but how good are currently Seamus Coleman and Michael Linko kind of thing. Now we got to throw in Calvert-Lewin battling a hamstring issue as well. So yeah, go ahead.
That's a super interesting question. I mean, you look at how they beat Arsenal last weekend. It was a goal from Tarkowski assisted by McNeil.
Right.
Just what he was doing at Burnley, and then they pack it and they play defensively. That like Arsenal had 71% possession. They had 15 shots. Like it, yeah. It's interesting, but like you look at the talent level of the two teams. I mean, let's start a goalkeeper, Jordan Pickford or Nick Pope. Like, I mean, that's. I'm not the only, they're having that
That's
conversation.
Currently the England national team conversation right now.
That's what I'm saying. So
Pope against Pickford.
I think the only place where Everton have a bit more talent, I mean, outside back, I'm trying to remember who the outside back for Burnley was. They had the same setup.
They had like Connor Roberts and Kevin Long and that kind of thing.
I remember there was the guy, the outside back who played like 38 games back-to-back seasons for Burnley at outside back. I'm missing his name here, but like Connor Cody and Ben Mee, same level of center back in my opinion. Like I wouldn't give Connor Cody a nod over him. I say this Everton team has a bit of an advantage in the midfield. They got some players who are, I guess,
Charlie Taylor.
Yeah, Charlie Taylor played a ton of games for Burnley. Mikolenko, he's good, but I mean, I'm not like, oh man, he's like one of the better outside backs in the Premier League. So it's not. I wouldn't say that at all. Alex Iwobi, the guy's just been doing it all season. He's actually been super fun to watch. They are better at forward, Everton, with Calvert-Lewin than they were with like Ashley Barnes or Chris Wood. But I mean, maybe. a slight edge to this Everton team in terms of quality, and then they're just deeper. They're deeper than that Burnley side was. So, but the same players in Tarkowski and McNeil are back in this side for Sean Dyche. He's just like, play the hits, Garth. Let's get these boys in the starting 11 and see if we can't replicate this. But we going back to last season. Everton were in that relegation scrap at the end of the season. They were needing points, and Goodison Park was absolutely rocking. And it felt like that last weekend too. I was, watching part of that game. It was like, man, this stadium feels like it's so hard to play in. I mean, they're not going to be playing there this weekend, but just from an overall perspective, I wouldn't want if I'm any team in the Premier League, I'm like, a trip to Goodison, I wish I don't want that, but yeah, I don't. Slight edge in quality overall to Everton from those Burnley sides, and yeah, I mean, getting back to this match, Sean Dyche. I mean, they're going to
Or
pack
getting
it
back
in.
to our bets, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, we did a big look at Sean Dyche's
Sean
side.
White.
Did
All right, yeah. Chris has Everton double chance plus 145. I'm taking under 2.5 goals at plus 105. So I did a bit of research. I was initially on the under 4.5 goal or 4.5 corners in the first half, just because I think it's going to be kind of a defensive match and kind of what the Liverpool matches have been recently, kind of what Everton under Dyche may look at. But I looked at previous Burnley Liverpool games, and while some of those recent ones were low scoring, just going back to last season, 2-0 Liverpool, 3-0 Burnley, or 3-0 Liverpool, 1-0 Burnley, 1-1. So some lower scoring ones, but a lot of those games had tons of corners in them. So I kind of didn't want to take that route. And Everton did get some. I think they actually took 7 corners against Arsenal last match. So maybe look at the over corners if you want to go off those numbers. But I just think under 2.5 goals with the way the Everton want to play. We saw the tactics. I believe it was the V coming in from the back, the way that Dyche likes to play, always in their formation, and just kind of contain things and keep things out of the middle is kind of how they play. And I guess that's kind of what leads to more corners. So staying away from that. But with how Liverpool looked, they're just struggling to score. Even though they're getting chances, it's just like their chances aren't good enough. And I think you've seen plenty of Nunez XG numbers and how he's just not converting anything. Maybe that's going to turn around at some point. Maybe he's going to get a hat trick in this game, but just, based off Liverpool form and how Everton want to play, I just think under 2.5 is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, Mo Salah. Not. I mean, I think it's more of like the landscape around him isn't as quality as it has been in the past, and that's maybe why he's not converting it as at the same clip that we've seen him convert in the past. And then Darwin Nunez, the man is just chaos. He's super fun to watch, but he just doesn't convert at a very high level. Against Wolves, they had 58% possession, 22 shots, 4 of those went on net. 15 chances created, couldn't find the back of the net. So I'm with you on this under. There's, the playing style of what we expect from Everton, the inability of Liverpool to finish their chances. I mean, I think it's fair to consider the under here over instead of going with the over.
Yeah, I do think that once Jota is getting back there, Luis Diaz maybe another month away. Once they get those guys back in, I think it might be kind of a return to what we've seen from the past from Liverpool. Van Dijk should be back as well later in the month. Like once they get their guys back, I just don't think Gakpo's ready for Premier League right now. Maybe other people will think differently, but I think you throw Jota in there, you throw Diaz in there with the Nunez, and you got one of those guys coming off the bench as well. I just think that's going to add something a little more. Because I mean, I don't know if people are ignoring it, but like for maybe a month, like Oxlade-Chamberlain was starting in like the front 3 kind of a thing for him. It's like, well, that's not the same level. It's not the same kind of players what they're used to with the Sadio Mane in prior seasons. So I mean, that has to go into these struggles a little bit. So
yeah, even like underrated, but Firmino, as like their off the bench option or they're like starting a midweek game kind of player who can create. Like they are missing some forwards. I think their issues are down to their midfield, but yeah, they're definitely missing the pieces in attack. Yeah. Anyways, enough about that.
Yeah. We got our team parlay. Our team parlay is 7-12, 562. The bigger thing is that me and Chris are both above 500 on our team parlay. So for some reason, if you don't want to parlay these bets, you can take them by themselves. I'm 10-9. Chris is 11-7. So I mean, either way, no matter how you look at it, you're up money with our bets. with our parlay. So we're looking at Sunday. We just had Leeds play Manchester United on yesterday, Wednesday, and we're going to be looking at that one for our bet here. So I don't know if you caught yesterday's match. Leeds went up 2-0, had 2 first half injuries. Manchester United got a couple goals, but so this was their first game, with Sabitzer and Fred playing next to each other. Eriksson maybe out for the rest of the season. Casemiro still on a suspension. So we get Fred and Sabitzer next to each other in the midfield. So you kind of take away Casemiro's, I don't know what he does in the midfield, and that kind of changes some things up. But I guess we got to mention Jesse Marsh has gone as well. So what are your thoughts here on this match? And then Jesse Marsh is sacking in general.
Yeah, I mean, see you, Jesse. You had right process, bad results. This is a results-driven league, so unfortunate. But they played good. They were enjoyable to watch. But if you're not scoring goals, if you're not taking points where you should be taking points, you're not going to last in the Premier League. The other side of this, they gave them a ton of money. They invested in the transfer window here in January, and then one match to make those investments, and you don't get the result against Nottingham Forest, and you're out.
Brutal.
So kind of weird, kind of from a business perspective, kind of weird to give a manager the ability to put his fingerprints on a team. Not that he hadn't had that ability, but and then just boot him out. But yeah, I thought it was nowhere. I mean, Tyler Adams in the midfield, obviously, but they added Weston McKennie, so you got the USA engine room in there. And I just caught some highlights, so I didn't catch the whole match on Wednesday, but they looked decent and went out to that 2-0 lead, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of funny. We were chatting about this game. I was like, oh, should we, maybe touch on the Leeds Man United game? And you're like, oh, it's Wednesday. They're playing back to back in the matter of 3 or 4 days here. So kind of
Wednesday to Sunday.
Yeah. So I mean, our most recent 2-2 here. Leeds 2 goals on 2 shots on goal. Of course, one of those goals was an own goal from Rafael Varane. Man United has 17 chances created, which is kind of a boatload of chances against Leeds. Couldn't convert. I mean, 2 goals is solid, but yeah, for me here, this is a boring week in terms of bets. I had the 2 on both teams to score, or no on both teams to score, and I had the double chance in the Everton, and I'm going to stick with the double chance here. Leeds just got that on Wednesday. Leads me to believe they can do it back to back.
Yeah, I think we're going to get – I mean, I was looking at the stats from that game. I watched the majority of it. I mean, I don't know how much to take away from that. Leeds scored in the first 60 seconds, and that kind of just meant that United was down and they're going to push, and then they're down 2 goals. And so the majority of the match, United's kind of losing. So, they're pressing a little more, and Leeds is maybe sitting back a little more. So I'm not sure how much to put in, the final underlying stats, 24 shots to 8 shots. But granted, Manchester United are a better team, but I think I'm going to write about that for my article. Check it out, RotoWire.com. I just think Leeds at home and Man United away, combined with no Casemiro, no Eriksson in the midfield, is kind of what I'm going to be leaning on with Leeds in this spot. I think they found out that, they have enough to beat this team. They showed it for a certain in yesterday's matchup, and they should have some confidence. They're at home, and playing Leeds at home is I know they've been bad this season, but it is a boost. I mean, you can also look at Manchester United's home away splits, and they are very different. And then you throw in the substitutes. I do wonder, we might get Aronson into the starting 11. He came on for a little bit Wednesday and did his usual stuff, dribbling around in the box, kind of a thing. But I mean, if we get McKennie, Adams, and Aronson in there, that should be fun for all the Americans to watch there come Sunday morning. Maybe a nice pre-Super Bowl match to check out there for all the NFL loving Americans. But I got over 4.5 corners for Leeds. That's -105. I think they had 5 in this past game, and I just think that their confidence and them being at home, they're going to have enough corners. As long as they don't score in the first 5 minutes again, I think that this will be a little more even, kind of an even match, a little more up and down, where Leeds aren't, on their back foot the majority of the way. So I got over 4.5 corners, -105. Chris has Leeds double chance, -120. Parlay is +255. There we go. There we go. That's what we got here. Any other thoughts for the week, though?
Leeds at home. You feel any team at home in the Premier League, you got a better percentage of getting a result here. You did mention Super Bowl Sunday here for in the States, and for any.
Oh, do you got a pick? Let's just go with it. You got a bet for the Super Bowl?
I think what is the spread here? I'd like the Eagles personally, but
the Eagles have been sitting like -1, -1.5.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just love they got some players on that defense that can wreak havoc on Mahomes. I'm still interested to see what's going on with that ankle sprain for Mahomes, but yeah, I think I'm going to take Eagles even against the spread. But yeah, straight up as well. But anyways, the real story here is, we've talked about smoking birds on this podcast. We've talked about some food occasionally, but are you making anything for Super Bowl Sunday? You tapping in and you're doing a appetizer, maybe the main course. What do you got going on?
I've been I don't have an exact plan yet. Is what I'll say. It's going to be a smaller Super Bowl party. We had a bunch of people over last couple of years, kind of taking it easy though. For this one, going down to Florida next week, so kind of got to prep for that as well. But
that makes sense.
Not sure exactly. Something good will be cooked up, but you got anything special?
Yeah, we're having a crew over Sunday, so I love to cook, and I think I'm gonna do like some skirt steak tacos. We're gonna get some nachos going. Might smoke a bird Saturday, so we got the chicken for the nachos on Sunday. I'm gonna kind of ball out here, I think. Maybe some margaritas. I don't know. That's we're kind of going with that theme. And then, I'm going to do main course and maybe a little dessert. And then I think the friends that are coming over are going to bring some of the sides. So definitely looking at maybe making a little like pico de gallo, some guacamole, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we've done a ton of chili for the Super Bowl. A lot of different kinds of chili. It's always a good thing for parties. People.
Yeah,
I think everyone likes soup, so that also helps. But yeah, margaritas.
Hot take to go soup at the Super Bowl, but I won't judge.
I mean, chili is like a combination.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, like a white chicken chili, like you can't go wrong with that.
Oh no, definitely not.
I mean, I thought
you were saying like you're making like a chicken noodle soup or something.
Oh no chicken noodle, no chicken noodle.
Yeah, weird take, but okay.
No, that's. You got any other betting thoughts here, since this is a betting show on the Premier League, not the Super Bowl? But
no other takes other than the 4 games we touched
before we talk again, actually, sorry, we got Arsenal home against Manchester City next week. Any thoughts on that?
Arsenal at home, Man City. We didn't even touch on the fact that Man City might have to. They're in some. They don't think they're in turmoil, but I think the outside world is viewing them in turmoil. But yeah, Arsenal at home. Kind of got to love them in that. I don't know what the early odds are telling us, but I'd be interested in that one.
Arsenal are underdogs
at home. Wow.
I think I'm going to take Arsenal to win.
Plus 185 at home. Moneyline. Yeah, I would. It's always silly to bet against Manchester City, but I'm a silly guy, so I might as well do that.
Yeah. All right, you can find Chris at CHRON8 on Twitter. I am at RotoZdroik. You can also get a subscription, rotowire.com/soccer trial, free 2-day trial. Check out all the good stuff on the site. You can see this cheat sheet. I always mention the odds on this cheat sheet, but we also have all of the projected 11s for these games, and that's pretty cool. You don't have to, click around here and there. You got all of the lineups on one page. So there you go. Chris, Thanks for joining me. Game week 23. Good luck on your bets and enjoy the Super Bowl party. Enjoy those margaritas.
Will do. Thanks, Adam.